Hi, welcome to Fantasy Sports Talk. I'm Kevin 1-0 Pate with my partner,
Blake Bagwell.
who is what?
0-1.
0-1, so it's fair to say that your name is Blake.
It was
0-1
brutal.
Bagwell.
It was brutal for me last week.
Just the score updates. Last week,
Bad.
Guy with Glasses won 92-40. And might have been part of taking LeGarrette Blount in the second round. I hope you have a better draft strategy this time.
No, it was Jay Cutler.
When
your quarterback goes down and gets negative points.
Okay, I really liked Jay Cutler last week. I don't think Jay Cutler puts up 52 points to at least tie me.
He at least gives me hope, though.
Yeah. So, again, if you didn't check us out last week, we have the teams up on our blog, fantasysportstalking.blogspot.com. Again, 92-40.
40.
So,
Wow.
when you're looking at this, you're kind of stuck on, he took this guy, but he took this guy. Choose wisely on which guy you choose. All right?
It happens. You never know.
Yeah.
Let's reload
Sometimes,
our second
sometimes
go
the
around.
underdogs win. But this time, the underdogs did not win. I'm done razzing you. Let's go.
Too much.
Let's dive right in.
I can't say anything. My team was terrible.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm done razzing him for this. We are ready to start a brand new week, Week 8. Same thing.
Thank goodness.
Waiver wire draft owned in less than 50% of fantasy leagues. And I just want you all to know how serious we take this.
Easily the hardest thing I've ever done in fantasy football.
And not only that, but we wanted to win this league
much more
than any of our fantasy leagues, just because we were both talking crap to each other.
Never rooted so hard for third string running backs and backup tight ends.
Don't think that we're mailing this in. We're trying to beat each other, so these are our best that we could come up with.
Oh, I
but
shame
again,
to say it.
But again, these are simply waiver wire guys. If you can, there's a whole lot of guys who are better than these. We'll let you know if there's a must-own pick that we pick. All right? So, I deferred. Blake picks first.
Maybe that'll be the game changer.
So,
First pick this week.
Whoever picks first wins after a one.
I mean, I think one outing is enough to know who's going to win.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get us started for Week 8.
Number one pick.
Okay.
A guy that I really like, Mike James.
Okay.
He took over a little bit last week for Doug Martin, showed some explosive capabilities. I think he's going to be able to do it next week against the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, Mike James owned in just 15.3% of fantasy leagues right now, and Mike James is a guy who I think is a must-own. He's the number one back,
especially if you're a Doug Martin owner.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Bobby Rainey, they just signed him. There's some speculation about how much time he'll get. I still think Mike James will be the number one back for that team right now moving forward. So if he's available, and he is in 85% of fantasy leagues, go and pick him up right now.
Feel good about him. Positive points.
All right, I'm going to go. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? So with my number one pick, I know he had a bad week last week, but I'm still going to stick with Willis McGahee out in Cleveland. He's owned in still just 35%
that
of
blows
fantasy
me away.
leagues. He
shouldn't be on.
This is a number one back. He's not fighting for carries.
Yeah.
Why is he not owned in more leagues?
People low on him because of that Cleveland offense. One is just the Cleveland stigma. I was like, it's Cleveland, not going to do anything. And they can't get it going right now.
So this is another guy. Must own.
Yeah.
You can stick him on I think he's a good flex play. At worst, stash him on your bench.
Yeah, I think he's good. Check the matchups. He definitely could bring you something in the flex.
All right, so coming up, the first picks were easy. It wasn't that hard to make our first picks, right?
Yeah.
All right, now we have to
running
account.
backs, lock them in.
Now we have to account for buys, matchups, and injuries. So this is where it gets interesting.
For sure.
And this is where the real research happens. So go ahead.
Number 2, not as difficult as we start getting from my number 3 pick, but I went into my first wide receiver, a guy who just exploded last week for you to help take me down. Harry Douglas, Atlanta Falcons.
Harry Douglas, last week, it's kind of hard to determine if that was a mirage or not, only because Roddy White didn't start, Julio Jones on the IR. And Harry Douglas was the guy last week.
He was the guy.
Is Roddy White going to be back this week? Does Douglas slide back to number 2? If Roddy White's back, Douglas's fantasy stock takes a hit.
Right.
But I think at no worse he would be a flex play with Atlanta's high-powered offense. He's going to get his targets. He's going to get his looks.
Definitely.
And he's owned in just, what is this, 44% of fantasy leagues right now. I think Douglas is another guy who's a must-own.
I think so, too. Especially until we know more about what's going on with Roddy White. I'm not expecting another 150-yard game, but slide him in. I think he's definitely going to get his looks.
I think Douglas is good for about 10 points this week. That's a good pick. This second round pick for me, again, I love it because he's a number one back with Richardson being injured, but I hate the matchup against Seattle this week. But I'm still going to stick with. I'm going to go with Zach Stacy. He was actually on my picks last week, but again, the matchup didn't look too favorable for me, so I'm going to go with him. But I've learned I'm taking Zach Stacy here, number one back on in St. Louis, who is. I'm not going to say he's a must-own just because I don't know what that running back situation is going to be like when Richardson comes back, but definitely a guy I'd keep my eye out on, especially with a bye week.
Yeah, and I'm okay with that. I like Zach Stacy. Anytime you have a number one running back who you know is going to be involved in the game, he's a safe pick. I hate the matchup against Seattle though.
Loathe it.
They have been brutal, especially against the run. And but hey, like you said, number one back, he's going to get an opportunity. It's just all about what he does with that opportunity.
Absolutely. All right, let's go with number 3.
All right, number 3 pick starts to get a little dicey, but I'm going to go ahead and take a gamble on my second wide receiver and take Ruben Randall in New York. The Giants' offense, I know, has been rough, but the matchup against Philly is just too juicy for me to pass up. I like it. Ruben Randall's his only big game this season came against that Philly secondary.
I like Ruben Randall. The thing about Ruben Randall with anybody on the Giants right now is when is Eli Manning going to show up? And he's too inconsistent right now.
I think that Philly secondary is an opportunity for him to step up.
That Monday night football game was just an abomination to watch. Both
painful.
Teams were. It's like both teams wanted to win, but neither of them legitimately knew how to
play football.
So I like Ruben Randall. That's a guy who I'm not too high on though.
That's fair. Like I said,
wasn't on my list. And
it's not a guy I'm going to put on my fantasy team. But I like him in the situation. I like the matchup.
Right.
I want to see what he can do.
All right, with my number 3, I'm going to do a guy that I hate just because he's a flavor of the week candidate. But I'm going to go tight end, and I'm going to stick with Jordan Reed in Washington. He's owned in 21% of fantasy leagues, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, 21%. And
shooting up the chart, though.
Yeah, he is. Everybody's starting to take notice of his big weeks. The thing about it is he a flavor of the week kind of guy, or is he a guy that's going to keep with fantasy stability? He's a guy that I would watch. I wouldn't necessarily go up and grab him right now, but if he keeps compiling,
I like his long-term potential. I mean, I think right now he is flavor of the week, and he should still be a wait-and-see candidate. Yeah. But RG3 is starting to get his swagger back. He's looking at Jordan Reed as being one of his premier targets, and so I think his upside is just huge right now. So I think he's definitely worth a look.
Okay. Sticking over on round 4.
Round 4.
Really scraping the bottom of the barrel here.
Scraping. I'm going to stick with that Washington team and take another guy who's a little flavor of the weekish. And I'm going to take Roy Halu.
Ooh.
I know he's the epitome of flavor of the week with his 3 touchdowns that he had on almost no yardage. But again, they're going to have to try to keep pace with Denver this week. And Denver is going to be lighting up the scoreboard, in my opinion, on that Washington defense. And so I think Washington's going to have to pull out all the stops to stay on pace. And for my purpose, I hope Halu is a part of it.
Yeah, for your purpose, you might. But the thing is with Roy Halu, he got involved in the game plan last week. So I don't know if I'm ready to say against a Denver team, he's going to get that same kind of opportunity. He might. He did have a monstrous week last week. But when you look at it, Alfred Moore's still that number 1 back.
For sure.
He's a 3-down back. They've got wide receiver weapons out there. Really, really think you're scraping.
I just think they're going to have to really push the envelope on offense. If they want to try to match Denver's offensive power, they're going to have to get as many people involved as they can.
If they want to match Denver's offensive power, they might want to fix their defensive flaws. Regardless, agree to disagree on that one.
Okay, that's fine. Okay? That's fine.
Let's just agree to disagree, and we'll let the final standings speak for themselves. All right, with my number 4, I'm going to stick flex.
All right.
With a guy who was recently named the starter.
Okay.
But is owned in just not even 1% of fantasy leagues. 0.3% of fantasy
starter,
leagues.
0.3%.
You ready for this?
Go.
Lance Dunbar out in Dallas. Last week, Joseph Randle got all the carries for him. This week, Jerry Jones, the man in Dallas, the actual head coach in Dallas, said Lance Dunbar is going to get the snaps.
Okay.
So, number 1 fantasy back. You got guys on the bye. You got
I
guys
like your thinking.
Injured.
If he's named number 1 star, he's number 1 on the depth chart. But I still think he's going to really be hampered by the other guys they have there. I think it's going to be a split carry situation.
Well, and that's fine. I understand that. But I think he'll get more of the bulk. If Jerry Jones says he's my guy, Jason Garrett's like, yes, sir, master. He's your guy. Like, I'm pretty.
No, you're right. But I mean, when you go in your first 3 drives, he has 10 carries for 8 yards. Do you keep him in there the rest of the game?
Do I or does Jerry Jones?
Fair point.
Okay.
I think it's a good pick. It's a good sneaky pick. Like you said, he just was just named the starter to get in the mix. And so let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's go with your number 5 pick.
I can't give you too much crap about the running back you're taking when you're going to hate the running back that I'm taking here at number 5.
Okay.
I'm taking Kendall Hunter, San Francisco running back.
Wow, yeah. All right. I just want to
give me a second.
Just go.
Give me a second.
Just
not a guy you should ever own in any fantasy league, by any means. However, they're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. And San Francisco has shown the past few weeks that they're ready to run the ball. That their whole game plan is running the ball. Frank Gore is a beast, but he's still an older guy. I don't think he's going to get hurt or anything like that. But I definitely think Kendall Hunter is somebody who's going to come in to spell him because he's just going to be coming down the field on. He's going to have to get a water break every now and then. Put Kendall Hunter in. I think he's going to be good for garbage time. He's going to be good for giving Frank Gore a breather.
Just so we're clear, you went with LeGarrette Blount last week for garbage time. By the way, 4 rushing yards total.
What, like a half a point or something like that?
Yeah, 0.4. Nice.
Okay, yeah.
So you're gonna keep that.
I'm gonna try it again. I'm gonna try
Okay.
it one more time. One more time. I'm gonna see what happens.
All right. Let me get on. Let me just
Go.
get on to you about this pick.
It's okay. It's okay.
Kendall Hunter at the beginning of the year was a guy that everybody was like, you should absolutely grab him because Frank Gore is going to get hurt. He's the number 2 back out in San Francisco right now, and everybody bought into it. Frank Gore's not going anywhere. He's still the number 1 back, and
in order to keep him healthy, what do? Put in Kendall Hunter.
And you know what? They might. But I don't think he'll get that much garbage point. If this was just off potential, I think Kendall Hunter could start for a few teams right now. I like Kendall Hunter. I really do. But I don't see a lot of fantasy upside with him right now with the 49ers. So let's just go ahead and chalk that one up to a agree and disagree. Major
Totally fine.
Disagree.
I can't wait for one of these guys to pay off for me.
No, because I'll never hear the end of it. Even though I'll win 114. Yeah, well, 14 points
14
came from Kendall Hunter.
Points. Kendall. I'll buy the jersey and everything.
Yeah, awesome. All right, my 5th round pick, I'm going to go wide receiver here.
Okay.
I'm going to go with a guy out in Green Bay who was actually on my list last week.
Okay.
I didn't pick him just because didn't know how good he would do, but he actually did really well, and that's Jarrett Boykin.
Yeah.
He played really well the week before, or didn't play really well, but he got a lot of targets the week before that. Yeah. And then this week, and with all that playing time, with all those receivers, or last week, he did really well. With all those guys still injured.
Yeah. I mean, that team's decimated with injuries right now.
Yeah.
Finley, Cobb, great pickup. Aaron Rodgers throwing the football.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing with Harry Douglas in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Like, nice guy to slide in.
Absolutely.
He has all the potential in the world right now.
Okay. I just want to go ahead and make a quick little analogy here. Blake loves most of my picks, and we're kind of torn between Blake's picks here. So
maybe I'm just too nice is the thing.
Well, hey man, chalk it up, dude. All right, go with pick 6.
Pick 6.
Matt Schaub.
No. God, no. My tight end, I'm going to go with Jermaine Gresham. I hate this pick. There's just not a lot of tight ends out there.
Here's the thing is I want to love this pick because I'm talking about Jermaine.
I love this pick for our purposes. I think he's going to put up points and help my team.
When you Jermaine Gresham, I want to give me a stat. How many leagues is he on?
I mean, he's almost 50%. He was just under the 50% line.
Okay.
It's like 49%.
Why is Jermaine Gresham not owned in more leagues? And then I look at it, I'm like, because he hasn't done anything. Jermaine Gresham should be a big red zone target out there in Cincinnati.
He stretches the field, but for some reason, it's always Eifert in the red zone.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on there.
So, like I said, I want to love that pick. I want to love the Gresham pick, but I just can't just because they're not using him. But for the
they are using him. But I said, he doesn't have a huge – his red zone targets are low. But he's getting his 40, 50 yards. I'm just kind of banking on the fact that another so you're just 5 to 7 point week. Give me that, what tight ends are supposed to get you.
Okay, I'm going to go, sir, I'm going to stick with receiver in another flavor of the week. Man, I hate this because you and I we'll talk in the office and we'll be like, people are just snagging this guy left and right. Yep. But in this draft, you kind of had no other choice but to choose some flavor of the weeks.
So hard.
So I'm going to go out in Dallas, and I'm going to take Terrence Williams. He had a big week last week, a big week before that. is this the week he comes back down to earth, or do I get one
Does he
more
keep
bit of
going?
success? I would not own Terrence Williams in any fantasy format that I had, except for this waiver wide draft. If you are absolutely desperate, there is nothing else you can do to plug into your wide receiver hole.
Right.
Take him. But other than that,
I took him last week. He didn't have a big yardage game, but he did sneak in for a touchdown. And so, I mean, that's kind of what you're looking for with Terrence Williams.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to get the bulk of the targets or yards, but definitely a guy, that might get something.
All right. Let's go to pick 7.
Pick number 7, I'm going to take my defense, and it blew me away that this defense was even on the board. I didn't think they were going to be in this conversation, but I'm taking the Carolina defense against Tampa Bay. Only owned in less than 37% of the leagues right now.
I could not believe when I looked up and found Carolina defense available in precisely 32.3% of fantasy leagues. What? This is an awesome defense this year. And they're playing a rookie quarterback.
Out of their mind, but they're going up against Tampa this week. They should have been the number 1 waiver wire pickup.
Absolutely steal pick, and I gift wrapped it to you. Consider it my parting gift for you getting your butt kicked so bad.
Okay. You threw me a bone. Okay.
Yeah, hey, you got to do it every now and then, right?
Appreciate it. See, that's what I make you feel bad for beating me in week 1, and I can just sneak up on you in week 2.
I feel like that'd be more of a playoff strategy. So if that is your strategy, you can do a little bit better.
What do you got?
I'm going kicker. And there's 2 guys I like here.
Okay.
And I'm going to say their names because I know you don't have them on any of yours. So this is just guys you might want to look at. Ryan Suckup out of Kansas City and Sebastian Janikowski for Oakland. Both guys are owned in less than 30% of fantasy leagues. And I'm going to stick with Sebastian Janikowski here. Okay. Just because they're playing a Pittsburgh defense right now that Oakland can drive, they can move, but they're really bad in the red zone. So I'm thinking that Oakland's best chance is going to be to go with the rubber-legged Sebastian Janikowski, who's been playing since 1956 or something like that.
Give or take.
Just durability in that leg's ridiculous. So, I mean, Sebastian Janikowski, I think he's good for 10 fantasy points this week. I think he'll get his field goal tries, and he's got a hell of a leg.
I see where you're going with that, and I almost did the same thing with the same strategy going with Swisham out of Pittsburgh. That offense, not a lot going on, so maybe their best chance to put points on the board is their kicker. Mm-hmm. But I decided to go a little safer route because I think that Pittsburgh-Oakland game, somebody might win 3-0. I really don't know what to expect out of that game. So I just went with somebody on a team that I know is going to move the ball, and I went with Garrett Hartley in New Orleans.
Okay. So you're sticking with a guy who's going to definitely get extra points.
They're going up against Buffalo. The same reason I like Matt Prater. He's going to kick 10 extra points, and so he's going to be solid, I think.
Interesting strategy. Definitely, I think it's neat how we both have different strategies here going with kickers. I'm going to make a pick here that's going to blow your mind.
Really?
It's a very underrated pick. It's a defense pick. Owned in just 1.8% of fantasy leagues.
1.8%.
My out-of-the-box pick of the week. The Oakland Raiders defense. Going up against Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh tends to move that offense in reverse more than they move it in drive. So I think that Oakland's not going to get... I'm not looking for a monstrous 20, 30-point fantasy week, but I am looking at 10 points here. I think anything less than 10 points, I'm going to be a little upset with this Oakland Raiders defense. I don't think Pittsburgh's going to score a lot, and they've been a little turnover-prone this year.
Yeah.
Lately, they've played better, but Oakland Raiders defense, mark it down, my sleeper pick of the draft. Remember last week, I took the Minnesota Vikings, and someone gave me hell about it. 11 points from the Vikings defense. Nobody finds better sleeper picks on defense than me.
I think that's okay. I mean, you're right. Pittsburgh has nothing on offense to scare me this week. However, every now and again, Ben Roethlisberger shows why he's a Super Bowl MVP. So hopefully,
which has been a long time ago,
right? And I would say if I was a betting person, I would definitely bet on the side that not happening. But there is a chance that he could put up some numbers. So we'll see what happens.
All right, now here is something that I think is just absolutely crazy.
What do you got?
We're 8 rounds in.
Right, yes.
8 rounds in. Neither one of us have taken a quarterback yet.
Quarterback options are terrible right now.
So,
less than 50%.
You shouldn't grab any of these guys unless you're in like a 16-team league. Everybody else has a backup quarterback.
And you have to start 3 of them.
This is what you're throwing with.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and start off with the first bad quarterback taken in this.
I guess you call it a sleeper pick. I don't know. The guy's been terrible, but the reason I like him, which pains me to say it because we're both from Atlanta. I'm a Falcons fan, but I'm going with Carson Palmer at home against the Falcons.
I'm glad you're learning. Falcons fan also, but I understand what Atlanta sports are. I understand all their weaknesses. And
right, I'm being realistic.
This is a game that
I still like the Falcons in the game, but their defense has been so soft. I think they're going to let Carson Palmer put some points out.
Carson Palmer's been bad the past few weeks, so don't own him if you don't have to.
Not at all.
But at the same time, he's going to be picking on two. I mean, he's got experience. He's got two inexperienced cornerbacks on the other side, so I like the Carson Palmer pick. I'm proud of you. I'm actually really proud of you for going against fighting your Falcons bias.
For sure he's not going to have negative points.
Someone's hitting the panic button.
It's not a panic button.
One game into this waiver wire draft. So
I like the matchup. I'm being realistic. I think 12 to 14 points is realistic out of Carson Palmer.
All right. Will the Falcons win this week?
100% yes.
You poor pitiful soul. All right. My quarterback pick, again, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Okay.
Ryan Tannehill, Miami Dolphins, going up against the New England Patriots. I don't really like that matchup, but Ryan Tannehill's been a solid quarterback play, and it's still just owned in 10.5% of fantasy leagues.
He's got his weapons. He's on a decent team.
I think you could do a lot worse than to own Ryan Tannehill right now, especially when you've got all these quarterbacks that just got hurt: Sam Bradford, Matt Schaub, Jay Cutler, Nick Foles, and then you've got all these other guys on bye weeks.
I said we were bottom of the barrel.
I think Ryan Tannehill's a decent play. He got me 14 points, I think, last week in fantasy. I'm okay with that for my backup quarterback. So, there you have it. We have made our draft picks, and I do believe that one of our teams is better than the other.
100%.
So, if you need to choose one of these guys, and you're stuck between a guy that he took and a guy that I took,
what would you recommend?
I would recommend that you choose on the guy that doesn't lose. And one of us is 0-1.
He's pretty high right now. He got the first win. But we'll see what happens. Like it's so hard. It's so hard. Fantasy football is hard enough to predict.
This is really hard.
If you want a challenge, do this. Put a team together. People owned in less than 50%.
Put a league together and say, all right, you can only own people owned in less than 50% of fantasy leagues.
It is tough. There's just two of us doing it.
Yeah.
And it is really tough.
All right, so make sure you check us out on Twitter at Kevin Page Sports.
At Blake Bagwell.
And then also make sure you check out our blog that we have at fantasysportstalking.blogspot.com. We update that. I'll put these teams up, and you guys are free to give us a like, comment, subscribe, whatever you want to do. But do keep us in mind. We do this for you. We do this for you, the viewer.
See you next time.